Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Adam's Tech Trends. I'm your host, Adam, and my mission here is every episode we're going to break down some kind of leading edge tech topic. So right now, that's a lot of AI, crypto, DAOs, and likely other things too. Every episode, I'm also going to provide actionable advice or ideas for how you can leverage these technologies today in your work or personal lives. I recently started a different show about AI called Tests Are All You Need, but it was a little bit too specific and esoteric. So I'm relaunching Adam's Tech Trends so I can be a bit more broad in terms of covering the technologies that are shaping our world. What you can expect from this show, I'm not sure about frequency because we're just getting started, but you can expect real value being delivered in each episode. So today I'm going to start with some stories and ideas about a tech trend called Prompts Are All You Need. And then I'll get to the specific actionable advice for everyone listening that they can apply to their personal and or work lives. Let's talk about language for a second, since there's going to be a lot of AI discussion. I don't think the world really has agreed upon language to talk about what's happening in AI right now, right? What do you call AI? What do you call a chatbot? What do people mean when they talk about prompts? Or I asked AI this question the other day. So we'll have to use language, develop terminology as we go to refer to these different things. But generally speaking, when we talk about AI on this show, what I'm talking about is modern AI models, right? Like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude, Grok by X, these leading models and the way that they're being applied. There's all kinds of other cool stuff happening in AI, right? But we're talking about those. Now you could call those AI chatbots. That might confuse people with like, well, what about customer service chatbot or marketing chatbot? Chatbots is not a bad word for it either. One metaphor I want to return to is the idea that what's happening now with prompts and AI is like what happened with Google 20 years ago, where we got to the point that anytime you asked someone a question or brought something to a manager or trying to figure something out, the person who's educated and getting good at the internet would say, have you tried Googling it, right? Have you Googled it? Especially if you're going to your manager and you ask them a question you could have Googled, have you Googled it, right? It was everywhere. Everyone talked about it. Now what's happening is, have you asked AI? You bring a piece of writing to your manager, they're going to want to know that you've used the available tools at your disposal to make it better before they read it. They're going to ask you, have you run it by AI? This is going to be something every single person is going to need to do in personal and work context, as much as Google is an essential part of our lives today. And a side note, I think Google may be on the way out for related reasons, but that's a conversation for another day. I would not want to bet on Google today, personally. Quick sponsor message. This episode is brought to you by Armies. It's spelled more like Hermes in a way. It's ARMES.ai. And this is a really cool product that I think is going right after one of the biggest needs in the space related to prompts, which is how do you manage all your prompts, your inputs, your outputs, your documents, your model context. Check it out, ARMES.ai. And a special offer until May 12th. You can lock in the low rate they've been offering for their first beta users. As another special offer, if anyone wants to talk to the founder, let me know. And you can talk to the founder of Armies and put armies of AIs to work for you. Not sure if that's their tagline, but it sounds pretty good. All right, so today's episode is about prompts are all you need. The idea is that prompts are emerging as a fundamental workplace artifact and skill. So what do I mean by that? In a work setting, especially any knowledge work setting, this question of have you asked the AI yet, which means you need a prompt. You have to tell the AI what you're looking for. You can't just say, is this good? And show it a thing. Sometimes even that is useful, but you need to know how to write a good prompt to get good feedback on the piece of work you produced, which means you need to create that prompt. You may need to share it with teammates and your boss. You may want to share the output from that prompt or an ongoing conversation that you've built up around that prompt that others might be able to leverage. Maybe there's custom documents involved. And so just this emergence of prompts as this core item in almost every knowledge work, task, or project. Whether we're talking about something very specific like a piece of writing or an image or a presentation, a video, a plan, a strategy, right? Even these super conceptual business concepts you can work on with AI. I've experienced this personally with my own startup called MIDAO, M-I-D-A-O. We work on innovative legal entities for DAOs and Web3 and AI out of the Marshall Islands. But what's happened inside my company is exactly what I described. We pretty quickly, once the AI capabilities really started coming along recently, we really started transforming the way we do almost anything in our company in just like a did you Google it first kind of manner. It's everywhere. 2 years ago, when OpenAI and ChatGPT came out, everyone was super excited about all of that. But in reality, it didn't really meet people's expectations. And it might have been really cool, but it ended up being not something you're going to use all day, every day, the way you use Google and the rest of the internet. And I really think that's changed. Things like deep research, if you followed the deep mind and all the implications of that, things like thinking and reasoning models, the capability of these models across the board and the options that are available is beyond orders of magnitude what it could do and what was available 2 years ago. And that's happening again each year, as it shouldn't surprise any of us by now, all these new capabilities. And so I think people really need to start looking again if you've been maybe a little bit asleep at the wheel in terms of what's happening with AI. So let's dig a little bit more into how AI is transforming work. This is a tech trend, right? If you're a company, you need to be looking at this trend that's happening in the world and how is this going to impact our company, or how can we leverage it? How can we take advantage of it? A lot of it comes down to how prompts apply across the board to almost every job function. It's thinking about the prompt as a sort of living document, just like a project plan or other project-related artifacts. These prompts are things that everyone should be contributing to because you need great prompts, right? And if you don't know what I mean about great prompts, we'll get into that in one moment. But how are managers and employees and teams going to collaborate across all these prompts and their outputs and the flow of work and information through the different models that can be so useful? Let me give you a specific example. We'll do another mini case study based on MyDAO, an interesting approach to applying AI. Let's talk about something simple, social media. We have an employee named Nirpesh who puts out a lot of our social media posts. And you could just go to OpenAI, right? Go to ChatGPT and say, give me a good post about this topic. Okay, might be pretty good. What we did, so take a step back, we had deep research figure out how to be an amazing chief marketing officer, right? Like what are the best practices and approaches to marketing at the highest strategic level? Okay, now we can tell ChatGPT, we want you to incorporate this knowledge about marketing when you're answering my future questions, right? Now let's do another deep research on social media strategy and say to this deep research, which by the way, if people don't know, deep research is available in almost every AI tool now. It's something you can try as an option. And deep research will go out and search hundreds of web pages if it needs to, and incorporate information from all different directions and give you these extensive many-page reports that are totally different from just asking an AI a quick question and getting a quick answer. They take minutes often to put together. Now you can take the CMO research, which is like an amazing research report, right? Take the social media strategy research, feed them as documents into any AI model that you like and say, okay, considering all this strategy knowledge and social media knowledge, given that I want to put out a post every day, given that we want to connect the post back to our company in a clever way that makes it interesting and connects it to the other companies involved, considering the tone we want from our company is this, give me a tweet for the next week, right? A post for the next week, or a post about this or about these 5 things. Now you're really leveraging like the full knowledge of the internet in terms of going out and finding best practices for this specific task and having the AI put those to use in giving you the final output. And you could apply that to anything, right? We'll get into more examples over time, but this is a cool workflow. If you haven't tried it, just try deep research for some interesting question you're thinking about in your life or work, and try feeding that into an AI. Don't read the 20 pages about how to do social media marketing. Just ask the AI to read it and then give you advice. And now you're talking about a radically different kind of value that you're getting. Let's dig into a more technical aspect of this. Why is that so different? Why doesn't ChatGPT just know all that information about social media and marketing strategy without you having to feed it a deep research report from itself or a different chatbot? The reason is that a good way to think about the knowledge that's in a AI model, like chatbot, one of these chatbots, out of the box when you go to ask it a question, it's like a faint recollection of all of human knowledge. Or you could think of it as like a faint recollection of all of the internet and all of the content it was ever fed. It's not precise. It's not going to remember exactly everything it saw. It's like this faint recollection, kind of like we have about most of the things that have happened in our lives, these faint memories. If you say, go out and search the web and find all the best information on this and incorporate all the information and think about it and use reasoning and produce a report for me. That's all. You can do all that and incorporate great information as a precise knowledge of the model. So now you've taken a model that's like a really smart person with this general recollection of the world. Actually, pretty smart, right? You've seen it probably answer really interesting questions already. Over time, we're going to get to a variety of interesting approaches to using AI that you can try in your daily life and work. But meanwhile, let's move on to another element I want to identify, this interesting tech trend happening right now with the development of these AI models and as people and enterprises look to apply them. I think there's this really interesting paradox where people expect, based on the media conversation and general expectation, that AI is going to replace a task or make things easier or faster. It's going to take something that used to take you an hour, now it's going to take you 15 minutes. It intuitively makes sense. But what I keep seeing over and over with these AI models, right? Again, I'm not talking about other types of AI, like enterprise software, AI chatbot for your customer service or for your marketing, or AI business intelligence, right? We're specifically talking about using these models and bots as expert advisors, super powered writers and planners and strategists. It turns out that it can actually be much slower to use AI to help you do the work much better, right? You kind of go in expecting maybe this is going to make it so I can do 10 times as many posts, but you come out of it saying, oh, wow, actually it took me a little extra effort, but now every single one of my posts is 10 times as good. And then you can apply that across the board, whether it's strategy, multimedia, written content, whatever. This quality improvement dimension, I think we're going to see as people apply these tools, especially in the enterprise, we're going to find this is hard. Not only is it not automating something necessarily and taking time out of your workday, it's not necessarily taking away work you would have otherwise had to do. It's actually giving you extra work and making you even better at that work. And I think we're all going to find that for a lot of situations. I mentioned earlier the prompts, right? And this episode is called Prompts Are All You Need. The prompt as a core artifact. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So imagine you're in a team, in an enterprise, a 10-person team in an 8,000-person enterprise, and you work with all kinds of other teams. Everything you do as a team, you tend to do with a subgroup, like 3 or 4 people on a project, or one person with someone else giving advice, and then maybe another project manager. So all kinds of people collaborating, right? From the beginning, whatever it is you're doing, you're going to want to be using AI to give you inspiration, to help with first drafts, to think through a structure of a deliverable. You're going to probably want it to help give you a head start. You're going to need to start working on your prompt. Now you want to get feedback on the work you already did. You're going to need to write a really good prompt that helps it know how to give you feedback. Let's go back to that example about teaching the AI how to be a CMO and a social media strategist before asking it a question. Prompts are evolving across teams. They're being shared. People are getting output from the prompts that you probably want to collect and be able to reference over time, maybe even save for security reasons. Where are you going to manage this? It's really hard to do in any one of the AI tools. It's really hard to do in just like a wiki or through emailing each other and messaging each other, although a lot of it's happening that way. And so it introduces a version control issue. Where's the book of record best prompt? Where's our prompt content for the tone of the media our brand produces? Where's the prompt template or prompt element for writing posts for the company? Where's the documents the AI needs to produce great content about something specific, like a PDF you created from internal stuff? Prep, these inputs to the AI, prompts and other inputs. How do you manage and share that across teams while making it available to the AI model that's best for that task? If you haven't seen, for people who aren't as deep into this AI stuff right now, all these models are different. So each model has a different approach. It's good at different things. It's offered by a different company. It might have a slightly different. As you're collaborating on these prompts, you also need to get outputs from various models. And again, that's not something you can easily do within one of the tools or any tech platform I'm aware of. And my hope is people are actively building this kind of thing. Our sponsor, Armies, is a great example of that, building more for the consumer application, and really cool. So another one is the knowledge silo issue. What's all the inefficiency from people running prompts and getting results all over your enterprise that could be overlapping, related, maybe benefiting each other? Obviously, you need to watch them from a cybersecurity perspective. And what's that cost or missed opportunity from not sharing this type of information across the enterprise the way you do with wikis and other types of project plans? But again, now it's a very different type of content. I think here a good case study to think about is a finance company. right? A 10,000, 8,000 person finance company where the most important thing for them is cybersecurity and trust and privacy. And for them, it is not a trivial matter of figuring out how to let people at your enterprise use AI to contribute, right? It is probably a huge fear. It's probably being rolled out slowly. You're probably getting like, okay, we'll turn on Microsoft Copilot. I don't know anyone who's working on AI from more of a startup founder level who thinks Microsoft Copilot's any good. And so huge finance companies are saying, well, let's turn on Microsoft Copilot. It's so far from allowing the type of workflow that's increasingly valuable in an enterprise setting. So again, the sponsor working on a solution like this, I'm excited to see where that goes. And I think, aside from tech solutions themselves, we'll need frameworks, right? Just ways of thinking about this stuff, and also thinking about operating models inside a company, and thinking about the way the teams are structured, and you have your human and technology capabilities and how they interact. Someone just out of college can leverage a tool that is a chief marketing officer and social media strategist to produce something. And maybe that's not as good as your actual CMO would do. But how does that affect your operating model that suddenly it's a totally different kind of capability if they have the right skills? That's where we turn to adopting this as people. I'd be pretty confident that in any of those 8,000 person companies where they're just turning on Copilot, people are using ChatGPT and Google Gemini on the side. Right? Whether it's executives, whether it's lower level people, they're seeing these massive value add opportunities. They're probably getting advice from their own AI outside of work, and that's awesome. But at some point, you got to unlock that value across large enterprises that care about security, and it's going to be really interesting and challenging. How are everyday people adopting prompt-driven workflows? I've been applying this at my company over the past few months since AI capabilities really started taking off. Interestingly, Harvard Business Review did a study on what people are using AI for the most in 2025, and it's personal learning, it's therapy-like conversations, home organizing and planning, family communication. So this is where a lot of the adoption is actually happening. It's not happening at help me create the strategy for my marketing plan. I know people are applying this stuff everywhere. This is the biggest thing that anyone's talking about. There's a huge opportunity to use it before most people figure out how to use it, or before the tools make it really easy to use it right. And there's a huge opportunity to I think it's just getting ahead is the point I made before, getting ahead in your personal life, in your work life, but also being prepared, right? From an enterprise perspective, it's not as much like, oh, do we want this or not? That's not how enterprise technology works. This trend is going to wave over the world over the next 10 to 20 years. And how is your enterprise going to adjust and leverage it? I think we're in the early stages. We're not so far down the road that we should be criticizing companies that are not adopting this at scale. But I think for those who want to be early adopters of something transformational, now is the time. We talked a little bit about what needs to change for this to be made available to people in general. When I talk about this interesting prompt pattern where we're combining deep research with multiple research requests, using those as inputs along with other inputs, and then giving a prompt that includes a lot of specific instructions for what to give. I think that can be solved with education, and as part of what I hope to do with this show for fun and to build community around these issues. But I think also these are solutions that businesses will build, like our sponsor, Armies. These tech solutions will help, right? Because, for example, it'll say, what are you looking for help with, right? And you can say, here's what I need help with. And then it can tell you, oh, well, here's the AI bot for you. Armies can automatically pick which one's best. It can automatically improve your prompt for you too. A lot of people who do a lot of AI know that you can actually use the AI to improve the prompts, which you're using with the AI. I think it's a big opportunity for how you're going to combine inputs, prompts, and outputs across many models and tools in any setting. A good friend of mine recently pointed out that aggregators are not usually successful business models. I don't know if that's true or not. I've loved Beeper recently. That's been game-changing. I don't know if it's been decades since people thought an aggregator could be useful. Now this one seems useful to me. Aggregator or something else. And the collaboration side, again, for teams. The other thing to keep in mind right now is the cost is still relatively high. You can find opportunities to use all this stuff, but if you want to be using it daily across your organization, it's a meaningful cost, right? You're looking at least tens of dollars per head per month, and as much as hundreds or more if you're trying to use the most advanced models. Okay, so let's dig a little more into quick wins, simple pieces of advice that you can use right away to get better results with AI and these chatbots. Okay, first of all, importance of knowing what it is good at and what it's not good at, what it can do and what it cannot do. For example, we talked about how it has this general recollection of knowledge, A bad thing to do generally is just ask it for a piece of knowledge because it might remember and it might not. But a cool thing to do is to ask it to search the web to find that knowledge for you. Now you're already back at like Google or Wikipedia level plus because it's looking at 10 or 20 different websites to get you the answer. So that's one way to get over the problem. Another interesting one is that these models are bad at math. Now, all the builders of the models are working on things in their user interface to try to abstract away the fact that the model is actually bad at math. But as of a couple of weeks ago, you could still go to a regular model like ChatGPT 4, their main model that people use, and you could ask it to multiply two insanely big numbers together, like 15 digits, and it confidently tells you the wrong answer. Try it a few times. The reason for that is that its general recollection of the world, it's kind of like our memories of mental math. It's actually better than us, but it's doing mental math to try to estimate, and it'll come close actually with the multiplication. But it actually cannot do multiplication, right? This maybe one of the smartest computers, in a sense, humanity's ever built cannot do multiplication. One of the things they're building into these tools, or something you can do on your own if you know how, is don't just ask it the question, tell it to write code and run the code to solve that math problem. And now the same AI in the same conversation will run code, right? Even after you've told it a million times you think it's wrong, told you a million times it thinks it's right. It'll now run the code, get the right answer, and say, oh my goodness, I'm sorry that I was wrong. And so you can find these patterns in like, what are they actually good at? What are they not? Think about a manager of an assistant. If we're thinking about these AIs a little bit like assistants, you got to know what they're good at and what to expect from them and how to help them do good work. You also have to bring expertise and effort to get good solutions. For example, earlier today, I was having a conversation with a group of mostly lawyers about decentralized AI agents. Decentralized generally means running on a blockchain, and in a decentralized way, an AI agent is like a living and breathing bot that has access to a crypto wallet and can interact with people through websites. It's like putting an AI to life. It's interesting to look at all the legal implications of that. By the way, if you're interested, check out DAIAA.org, the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance, DAIAA.org. Back to what we were talking about. So having this conversation earlier with these lawyers, one of the things we recognized was, for me as a serial entrepreneur / tech innovator, I can create really good setups for models that are good at doing stuff that I have experience with. Even if I'm not a CMO, I've been around marketing for 20 or 30 years. I've been CEO without a CMO most of the time, right? I know enough to get the AI to give me a really good answer. And a CMO would do even better. They could get the AI to give a better answer. So when we're talking about how we teach an AI to precisely look at a bunch of legal information like laws, countries, regulations, even notes, results of court cases around the world. If we want to get an AI to read that information and find out certain things, like a list of all the court cases related to liability with decentralized or other AI agents, I don't have the background. But these lawyers who are really good with AI, they can do that really well. And then they can share that bot with the rest of us. Right? And we can maybe collaborate on it together in Google Docs. Don't necessarily expect that every person will know how to prepare a model to be useful. You will need people with expertise to guide the model in the right direction, to have confidence that the output doesn't contain hallucinations and other made up things. Let's talk about some of the cool things it can do. Basic things. You just ask it a question and it answers, or you're having a conversation. Right? We're all doing that all the time. We all know what it's like, what it's capable of. We're experiencing it. But remember, that's just like a super smart and nice, interesting virtual person that has a faint recollection of all of human knowledge in the internet, which is incredible, right? But again, don't ask it a fact. Don't ask it for a sports score from today. It has no idea. It was trained a year ago, right? So the next level up, I'd say, from just a basic question is, let's not get the internet in here yet. But let's just give a really thoughtful prompt, not just a simple question, but first describe in like 3 or 5 paragraphs the type of answer you want it to give, and then tell it the question. And AI is also good at helping you come up with that. If you say, I'm looking to get feedback on something I'm writing, can you ask me any clarifying questions and then give me a really good prompt that will teach an AI to be a really good reviewer of writing? It will give it to you. You can use it in your prompt to get feedback, and it will actually be better at giving you feedback on writing after you've already improved the prompt with the help of AI to talk about how to evaluate writing. Okay, so that's where thoughtful prompts can be so powerful, right? Because everything you give it in a prompt, it knows precisely. It sees that, and it's like giving it knowledge or guidance. The next level up from these basic prompts or thoughtful prompts is thinking that the models can do. Thinking and reasoning, people have been calling it. Thinking and reasoning is something like right now, ChatGPT's O3, if you want to try it. It was just pushed out to all paid users, at least, I think a few weeks ago. And O3 is not quite as in-depth as deep research, which we've talked about and I'll revisit in a second, but it does think through, what is the user really asking me? What is really the right way to go about solving this problem? What information do I need in order to solve this problem? And do I need to ask the user? Do I need to search the web? And it can go search the web. This thinking model can be so much better for certain types of questions, but it takes 10 to 30 seconds to run. And so you're not going to want to do that when you're just chatting and having a conversation or looking for general input. But if you want to have a model think, you really have to just try it to see what it's like. It can be really powerful. I mentioned that thinking can search. You can also do searching without thinking and reasoning. Sometimes there's a button that says web search, but almost always you can say, please search. You can say, please search and tell me how the Celtics did today. Or please search and compare the best CRMs. At least now it's searching the web for that information before trying to tell you from its faint recollection of the internet and human knowledge from a year ago, right? So that's where searching comes in. Increasingly, the searching, it figures out if it needs to search and does it rather than relying on you to tell it. But I still see situations where if you're just asking it a question, it's going to give you an answer and it's going to seem like a good answer, but really not. That's where people talk about all the hallucinations, all the errors, all the imprecise information. That's just not how to use AI properly. You've got to find a way to get that. The technical word for it would be getting all that information into the context window. The context window is what the AI knows with precision. When you get stuff in there, whether it's uploading files, writing it, whatever, that's getting in there. Deep research is the last method similar to these others. I already talked about it earlier. Deep research is like thinking and searching on steroids, and it's incredible. If you have a Google Workspace account, you get their deep research for free, seemingly unlimited, whereas ChatGPT can seriously limit how much you can use deep research unless you have the $200 a month option. You can also get free uses per day or month from Perplexity and AI model tools. Look for something like deep research. Super interesting. So again, the biggest thing I would say is think about how you can start with deep research to get information to make your AI really smart, and now ask it to do something for you and ask it a thoughtful prompt so that it really knows what you're looking for. Look around the internet for prompt ideas. So again, I know I keep mentioning the sponsor Armies, ARMES.ai, but one of the really cool things about Armies is that it's been pre-prepared with bots that include like prompts and preparation in the context window. So they're really ready to help you with something. Like there's a motivational advisor bot that you can just start talking to, and it has been taught how to be a great motivational advisor, right? There's the billionaire strategic advisor. There's these other things. So whether you're creating it yourself or someone else is creating it, or you find a website that has really cool prompts and you try them out, highly recommend it. And it can make a huge difference. You can find really good examples online. I'll just give you one more example. So ChatGPT recently released tasks, and you can have recurring tasks. You may just be able to ask 4.0 directly if you're talking to 4.0. By the way, if anyone listening is just not even has any idea what all these numbers are, all of the major AI chatbots have different models you can interact with. And you really do have to try to get to know them. You can ask someone, ask me, ask a friend, Google it, ask the AI. Hey, which company and which model should I use for this task? Please search. You'll get a pretty good answer. Then you can start to figure it out on your own. Think about reusing prompts, especially for a daily task. Every day at 7 a.m., I want the 5 top crypto and DAO news stories. I did one for AI as well. I don't leave it at that. I say, I'm not interested in price changes. I don't care about market. I'm not looking for a market report. I am looking for industry news. What are players in the industry doing? Are people raising money? Are people launching new projects? Have there been meaningful moves in people, right? And I really describe all these things I'm looking for. And now my daily news from that, it's just this amazing customized news feed that is so much more relevant to me than anything I could have found anywhere else regarding crypto. All right, we're getting close to the end here. This has been really fun. Thank you for listening. A couple more things. If you're planning on coming back for the next episode, try implementing one advanced prompt-driven workflow this week. Let me know how it goes. Reach out. I'm really curious. Or if you struggle, if you tried something and the AI seems dumb, please tell me. I promise AI generally is going to be really good at whatever you're thinking if it's used properly. And we could try to go through that together. I'm still working on other materials related to the show. Again, check out the sponsor. Thanks for tuning in to the inaugural episode. By the way, if you don't know why I called it Prompts Are All You Need, aside from liking that it relates to my idea, Google attention is all you need. Or actually, better yet, ask ChatGPT why I would have named a podcast, Prompts Are All You Need, after a famous AI paper. Next episode, I'll reveal the answer as well. Please follow the show, whatever platform you're on. I guess my preference would be go to Substack and put in your email address. I really want to see if there's any demand for this type of content. Go to the Substack. I don't even have the URL yet, but it'll be in the show notes. And or if you're on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. If you're on your podcast app, subscribe there. Leave me a review. I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out if this is something I should do more of or not. Definitely a lot of AI content that would be coming soon, but I would mix in the DAO and blockchain stuff as well, where I think it's relevant. Until next time, ask better questions of your AI, and you'll get better answers for your life. Thank you, and see you soon.